The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Draw me close to you, never let me go. I lay it all down again to hear you say that I'm a friend.
Hi, good day. The Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah, the eternally self-existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 33 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default you're serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It's relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you'll be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how you can get close to Father. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you're in a spiritual no man's land and will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator has said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and to help him to have victory over Satan. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective. So today I'm going to wrap up my series on the Acts of the Emissaries, the Acts of the Apostles. This is part 7 and it's the last part. The overview, the book of Acts in the Bible reports various activities in the lives of the emissaries, the apostles, meaning sent ones, those sent by Yah and Yahooshua to bring the good news, the so-called gospel, to others, primarily in this case Shaul, incorrectly called Paul. Emissaries exist today just the same, but many are not recognized as such. The book of Acts is generally attributed to Luke, the writer of the good news according to Luke, gospel according to Luke. Please refer to the introduction to the so-called New Testament on the ETI Bible version page, and also the book of Matthew for more information, as most of the changes in commentary in that book apply to Acts as well. So this is part 7, chapter 4, continuing at verse 10. Then Shaul, after that the governor had beckoned to him to speak, answered, for as much as I know that thou hast been of many years a judge to this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself. Because that thou mayest understand that there are yet but 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem for to worship. And they neither found me in the temple disputing with any man, neither raising up the people, neither in the synagogues or congregations, nor in the city. Neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. But this I confess to thee, that after the way which they call heresy, I so worship the mighty one of my fathers, incorrectly God, believing all things which are written in the Torah and the spokesman of Yah. So there's an interesting thing, they call what Shaul is teaching heresy. And the interesting thing is, as a general principle, it's religious people who are in error who accuse true believers of heresy when they're actually speaking on behalf of Yah, and not the other way around. The tendency to believe heresy is that it's not according to Yah's word. And the reality is that when you're dealing with religious people, people who don't have a relationship with Yah, They're carrying demons, and those demons have got them by the ear and are speaking rubbish. So if you are really speaking truth from Yah and somebody calls it heresy, just be aware where it's coming from. Verse 15. And have hope toward Yah, which they themselves also allow. There shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. And herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense towards Yah and towards men. Now after many years I came to bring kind deeds to my nation and offerings. Whereupon certain Yehudi from Asia found me purified in the temple, neither with multitude nor with tumult, who ought to have been here before thee and object if they had aught against me. Or else let these same here say, if they have found any evil doing in me while I stood before the Sanhedrin, except it be for this one declaration that I cried out standing among them, touching the resurrection of the dead, I am called into question by you this day. And when Felix heard these things, having more perfect knowledge of that way, he deferred them and said, when Lysias the commander shall come down, I will know the uttermost of your matter. And he commanded the captain to keep Shaul and to let him have liberty, that he should forbid none of his acquaintances to minister or come to him. And after certain days, when Felix came with his wife Drusilla, which was a Yehudis, Jewess, he sent for Shaul and heard him concerning the Emunah in the anointed one of Yah, Emunah, faith incorrectly. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and judgment to come, Felix trembled and answered, Go thy way, for this time when I have a convenient season I will call for thee. So in that verse you get a sense of Shaul's real message. And the interesting thing about the book of Acts, it's largely just a historical account. There's very little teaching in it. There's very little that you can draw out of the book of Acts in terms of how you live the life as an anointed servant. So he hoped, 26, he hoped also that money should have been given him of Shaul, that he might loose him, wherefore he sent for him the oftener and communed with him. So here we've got the governors looking for bribes. And the question, of course, is how we know that. And I would be cautious about taking that last bit. He hoped also that money should have been given to him. How do we know that? Maybe he declared it, but believers do tend to invent things. So I would be a bit cautious of attaching significance to that. Verse 27. But after 2 years, Porcius Festus succeeded Felix, and Felix, willing to show the Yehuda pleasure, left Shaul bound. Notice, Shaul is kept in the detention facilities of the Romans for 2 years. And I want you to hold that up against the difference before he came to Jerusalem, where he was all over the place touching many, many people. And now here he is in Caesarea, locked up. He's not bound until the end, but he's not free to move. I don't think that was Yah's will, as I said last week. Chapter 25. Now when Festus was come into the province after 3 days, he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chief of the Yehudi informed him against Shaul, and besought him, and desired favor against him, that he would send for him to Jerusalem, laying wait in the way to kill him. But Festus answered that Shaul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. Let them therefore, said he, which among you are able, go down with me and accuse this man if there be any wickedness in him. And when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down to Caesarea, and the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, commanded Shaul to be brought. And when he was come, the Yehudi which came down from Jerusalem stood around about and laid many and grievous complaints against Shaul, which they could not prove. While he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Yehudi, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar have I offended anyone at all. But Festus, willing to do the Yehudi a pleasure, answered Shaul and said, Wilt thou go up to Jerusalem, and there be judged of these things before me? Then Shaul said, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Yehudi I have done no wrong, as thou very well knowest. If I be an offender or have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die. But if there be none of these things whereof these accuse me, no man may deliver them to me. I appeal to Caesar. Then Festus, when he had conferred with the Sanhedrin, answered, Hast thou appealed to Caesar? To Caesar thou shalt go. And after certain days, King Agrippa and Bernice came to Caesarea to salute Festus. And when they had been there many days, Festus declared Shaul's cause to the king, saying, There is a certain man left in bonds by Felix, about whom when I was at Jerusalem, the chief priests and the elders of the Yehudi informed me, desiring to have judgment against him. To whom I answered, It is not the manner of the Romans to deliver any man to die, before that he which is accused have the accusers face to face, and have license to answer for himself concerning the crime laid against him. So what I ask you to notice there, he appeals to Caesar. And he appeals to Caesar because he realizes that if they take him up to Jerusalem, the Jews are going to kill him. And he's not going to get justice there because they're completely irrational. And in fact, I want you to understand here, I'm not speaking against the Jews. I'm speaking against the religious bigots of the time. But now, because he's appealed to Caesar, the rest of this book of Acts is going to be about his journey to get to Rome, and you're going to see how completely his ministry was sidelined. Verse 17. Therefore, when they were come hither without any delay on the morrow, I sat in the judgment seat, and commanded the man to be brought forth, against whom when accusers stood up, they brought none accusation of such things as I supposed, but said certain questions against him of their own worship. In the King James it says superstition, and of one Yahooshua which was dead, whom Shaul affirmed to be alive. And because I doubted of such manner of questions, I asked him whether he would go to Jerusalem and there be judged in these matters. But when Shaul had appealed to be reserved to the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. Then Agrippa said to Festus, I would also hear the man myself. Tomorrow, said he, thou shalt hear him. And on the morrow, when Agrippa was come, and Bernice, with great pomp, was entered into the place of hearing with the commanders and principal men of the city, at Festus' commandment Shaul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all men which are here present with us, you see this man about whom all the multitude of the Yehudi have dealt with me both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. But when I found that he had committed nothing worthy of death, and that he himself has appealed to Augustus, I have determined to send him, of whom I have no certain thing to write to my master. Wherefore I have brought him forth before you, and especially before thee, O King Agrippa, that after examination had, I might have somewhat to write. For it seemed to me unreasonable to send a prisoner and not with aught to signify the crimes laid against him. So just notice there, the unbelievers are just, they're seeking truth, they're not rushing to condemn. And that's more than you can say for the religious believers. And folks, I want to make the point here. Religion, wherever you find it, is demonic. It's rampant in Christianity and Islam today. Not so much in Judaism. It's vicious, it's judgmental, it's harsh, it is unjust. It doesn't necessarily call for death, but it throws people out of churches, etc. And I speak from personal experience. I've been kicked out of a number of churches after I delivered a word that was given to me by Yah and substantiated. On one occasion, in a church where I'd given a word of warning, we were sitting at the back of the assembly, and they had a visiting prophetic minister. And towards the end of the service, he calls me and my wife to the front. He gets some oil, he anoints us, and declares an abundant blessing over us for obedience. 3 days later, they kicked us out of the church because what I'd said to them didn't agree with their religious bigotry. Chapter 26. Then Agrippa said to Shaul, "Thou art suffered to speak for thyself." Then Shaul stretched forth his hand and answered for himself. "I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself this day before thee, touching all the things whereof I am accused of the Yehudi, especially because I know thee to be expert in all customs and questions, which are among the Yehudi, wherefore I beseech thee to hear me patiently. My manner of life from my youth, which was at the first among mine own nation at Jerusalem, know all the Yehudi, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify. But after the most narrow and strictest sect of our religion, I lived a Pharisee. And now I stand and am judged for the hope of the promise made of Yah to our fathers, unto which promise are 12 tribes earnestly serving Yah day and night, to come, for which hope's sake, King Agrippa, I am accused of the Yehudi. Why should it be thought a thing incredible with you that Yah should raise the dead? So now we're back on the thing about people disputing whether Yahushua was raised from the dead or not. Verse 9, I have verily thought with myself that I ought to do many things contrary to the name of Yahushua of Nazareth, which thing I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests, and when they were put to death, I gave my voice against them. And I punished them oft in every synagogue, and compelled them to blaspheme. And being exceedingly enraged against them, I persecuted them even to foreign cities. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests, at midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven, above the brightness of the sun, shining right about me, and them which journeyed with me. And even when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking to me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Shaul, Shaul, why persecutest thou me? It's hard for thee to kick against the prods. And when I said, How art thou, Adonai? And he said, I am Yahushua, whom thou persecutest. Now, notice here that Yahushua spoke Hebrew. He did not speak Greek. And this is a big thing. This thing called Christianity is fundamentally a Hebrew religion. It is descended out of Judaism. For Christians to attack Jews is absolutely off the mark and totally unacceptable. And so we see that Shaul encounters Yahushua, and as we've said before, a dramatic impact on his life. Yahushua speaking, verse 16, But rise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared to thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness both of these things which thou hast seen, and of those things in which I will appear to thee, delivering thee from the people and from the Hagoyim, to whom now I send thee, to open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light and from the power of Satan to Yah, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are set apart by Umanah in me. Whereupon, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient to the heavenly vision, but showed first to them in Damascus and at Jerusalem and throughout all the coasts of Yehuda, and then to the Hagoyim, that they should repent and turn to Yah and do works meet for repentance. For these causes the Yehudi caught me in the temple and went about to kill me. Having therefore obtained help of Yah, I continue to this day, witnessing both to small and great, saying nothing other than things than those which the spokesman of Yah and Moshe did say should come. So there's a big piece here. religious people, as a general rule, are not really susceptible or amenable to rational argument. Here Shaul is saying, you believe in the prophets, you believe in Moshe, you believe in the Torah. Here it says, here it says, here it says, here it says, here it says. This is the fulfillment. Kill him, kill him, kill him. Verse 23, that the anointed one of Yah should suffer, and that he should be the first that should rise from the dead and show light to the people and to the Hagoyim. And as he thus spake for himself, Festus said with a loud voice, Shaul, thou art beside thyself. Much learning doth make thee mad. He said, I am not mad, most excellent Festus, but I speak forth the words of truth and sense. For the king knows of these things, before whom I speak freely. For I am persuaded that none of these things are hidden from him, for this thing was not done in the corner. King Agrippa, believest thou, the spokesman of Yah? I know that thou believest. Then Agrippa said to Shaul, almost thou persuadest me to be an anointed one. And Shaul said, I would to Yah that not only thou, but also all that hear me this day were both almost and altogether such as I am, except these bonds. When he had thus spoken, the king rose up, and the governor and Bernice, and they that sat with him. When they were all gone aside, they talked between themselves, saying, This man doeth nothing worthy of death or of bonds. Then said Agrippa to Festus, This man might have been set at liberty if he had not appealed to Caesar. Notice that the unbelievers are just, and as a consequence of Shaul's actions, that he has to go to Caesar. So there's a key point there. Shaul refused to go to Jerusalem, and he asked to be presented to Caesar. Because of that, where here he could have been released, he now stays a prisoner. And everything that's going to happen the rest of this session today is because of that decision by Shaul. And you can say to me, well, Yah wanted Shaul to appear before Caesar. And all of this was so to get him in front of Caesar. And you might be right. That's probably the classic interpretation. But I'm going to say to you that Shaul was disobedient going up to Jerusalem. He was warned repeatedly. He rebelled. He went up, and everything that Yah warned him would happen happened. He was in sin. He was in rebellion. And everything that's going to happen in the next few minutes is a consequence of that sin and rebellion. And then appealing to go to Caesar when he didn't have to. There's a key point here, folks. You can be really committed to Yah. You can really hear his voice in many ways, and you can still have blind spots. You can still make mistakes. You can still make errors. That doesn't mean that you're not a committed believer. It means that you're human and you make mistakes. Chapter 27. And when it was determined that we should sail to Italy, they delivered Shaul and certain other prisoners to one named Julius, the captain of Augustus' regiment. And entering into a ship of Adramyttium, we launched, meaning to sail by the coasts of Asia, one Aristarchus, a Macedonian of Thessalonica, being with us. And the next day we touched at Sidon, and Julius courteously entreated Shaul and gave him liberty to go to his friends to refresh himself. So there we see the favor of Yah and an unbeliever who's treating a believer courteously. Fundamentally, the hostility towards true believers has a tendency to be more amongst religious believers, by which I mean not true believers, than it is with unbelievers. Verse 4. And when we had launched from thence, we sailed under Cyprus, because the winds were contrary. When we had sailed over the sea of Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia. And there the captain found a ship of Alexandria sailing into Italy, and he put us therein. When we had sailed slowly many days, and scarce were come over against Knidos, the wind not allowing us to proceed, we sailed under Crete, over against Salmone. When the ship was caught, and hardly passing it, came to a place which is called the Fair Havens, now whereunto was the city of Lasea. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, because the fast was now already past, fast probably Yom Kippur, the day of atonement, so autumn, Shaul admonished them and said to them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the lading and ship, but also of our lives. Nevertheless, captain believed the master and the owner of the ship more than those things which were spoken by Shaul. Because the harbour was not commodious to winter in, the more part advised to depart thence also, if by any means they might attain to Phoenicia, and there to winter, which is in a haven of Crete, and lieth towards the southwest and northwest. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, losing sense, they sailed close by Crete. But not long after there arose again a tempestuous wind called the northeaster. And the interesting thing is, the King James says it's the Euroclydon. How you correlate between those, I'm not quite sure. And when the ship was caught, when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. And running under a certain island which is called Clauda, we were hardly able to control the small boat. And having hoisted it, they used helps to undergird the ship. Fearing lest they should run aground on Syrtis, they lowered the tackle, and so were driven. We being exceedingly tossed with the tempest, the next day they lightened the ship. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. But after long abstinence, Shaul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, you should have hearkened to me and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. But now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night the messenger of Yah, whose I am and whom I serve. So what we see here is Yah is, on the one hand, Shaul is being, according to me, seriously judged. And on the other hand, Yah is saying basically, don't touch this person. Take everything else, don't touch this person. Verse 24. This is the messenger speaking to Shaul. Fear not, Shaul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, Yah has given thee all of them that sail with thee. Now, the thing to notice there, as all the way through the Bible, you do not know what Shaul said to Yah, and Yah said to Shaul in his head, in his heart, that nobody knows. So Shaul's saying, Father, I realize it's a mess. Please, can you help us? Please, can you save all of these people? And Yah says, you know what? I'll do that. It's going to be rough, but just trust me. And he sends a messenger, an angel, to say, Shaul, you've been heard. You're going to love. Verse 25. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe Yah that it shall be even as it was told me. Howbeit we must be cast upon a certain island. But when the 14th night was come, as we were driven up and down in the Adriatic Sea about midnight, the shipmen deemed that they drew near to some land, and sounded and found it 20 fathoms. When they had gone a little further, they sounded again and found it 15 fathoms. Then fearing lest we should run aground on the rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern, and we prayed for day to come. And as the sailors were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down the boat into the sea, and did pretense as though they would cast anchors out of the prow, Shaul said to the captain and to the soldiers, except these abide in the ship, you cannot be saved. So there's a conversation going on between Shaul and Yah, that he knows that Yah is saying, keep those people on board. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat and let her fall off. And while the day was coming, Shaul besought them all to take meat, saying, This day is the 14th day that you've tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. Wherefore I pray to you to take some meat, for this is for your health. For there shall not an hair of your head fall for any of you. When he had thus spoken, he took bread and gave thanks to Yah in presence of them all. When he had broken it, he began to eat. Then were they all of good cheer, and they also took some meat. We were all in the ship 276 souls. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea. When it was day, they knew not the land, but they discovered a certain creek with a shore, into which they were minded, if it were possible, to run the ship. When they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves to the sea, and loosed the rudder ropes, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and made towards shore. Falling into a place where two seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart struck fast, and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. But the captain, willing to save Shaul, kept them for their purpose, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea and get to land, and the rest come on boards and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they escaped all safe to land. So there again we see the captain willing to save Shaul, the favor of Yah. So on the one hand, I'm going to say something which I don't intend to offend you, but all hell has broken loose. And whether the storm was caused by the forces of darkness as a judgment, whether it was just that time of year and it was a storm, doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is, Shaul was still in communion with Yah, and they were delivered. Chapter 28. And when they were escaped, then they knew that the island was called Melite. And the foreigners showed us extraordinary kindness, the favor of Yah again. For they kindled a fire and received us, every one, because of the present rain and because of the cold. And when Shaul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, an adder came out because of the heat and fastened on his hand. And when the foreigners saw the venomous creature hang on his hand, they said among themselves, no doubt this man is a murderer, whom thou he has escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffer not to live. So there we see an awareness of judgment, which is completely missing in the present age. Verse 5, and he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. Howbeit they looked where he should have swollen or fallen down dead suddenly. But after they had looked a great while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said he was a mighty one, in other words, a god. So here we see there's that verse in Matthew which says, Yeshua says that you will pick up serpents and they will by no means harm you. So here we see Shaul, an anointed one, walking in that anointing, and the viper doesn't touch him. Verse 7, in the same quarters were possessions of the chief man of the island, whose name was Publius, who received us and lodged us 3 days courteously. And it came to pass that the father of Publius lay sick of a fever and dysentery, to whom Shaul entered in and prayed and laid his hands on him and healed him. So when this was done, others also which had diseases in the island came and were healed. So now suddenly Shaul has an opportunity to minister. The thing I ask you to stay with, he spent 2 years in Caesarea. He didn't need to come down this route. And why am I laboring the point? Because there is such wrong thinking amongst believers when things go wrong. Oh, well, look what happened to Shaul, and look what happened to Yeshua or Jesus, etc., etc. No. If you are free of sin, the forces of darkness legally cannot touch you. For things to go wrong in your life, you're breaking one of the 10 commandments or one or two other commandments. It's that simple. Verse 10, who also honored us with many honors, and when we departed, they laden us with such things as were necessary. And after 3 months we departed in a ship of Alexandria, which had wintered in the isle. whose sign was Castor and Pollux. And landing at Syracuse, we tarried there 3 days, from which place we went round and arrived at Rhegium, and after 1 day the south wind blew, and we came the next day to Puteoli, where we found brethren and were desired to tarry with them 7 days, and so went towards Rome. Verse 15. And from thence, when the brethren heard of us, they came to meet us at Forum of Appius in 3 taverns. And when Shaul saw, he thanked Yah and took courage. And when we came to Rome, the captain delivering the prisoners to the captain of the guard, but Shaul was suffered to dwell by himself with a soldier that kept him. And it came to pass that after 3 days Shaul called the chief of the Yehudi together, and when they were come together, he said to them, Men and brethren, though I have committed nothing against the people or customs of our fathers, yet I was delivered prisoner from Jerusalem into the hands of the Romans. When they had examined me, would have let me go, because there was no cause of death in me. But when the Yehudi spoke against it, I was constrained to appeal to Caesar, not that I had aught to accuse my nation of. For this cause, wherefore have I called to you, to see you, to speak with you, because that for the hope of Israel, I'm bound with this chain. So he was bound. He was in his own place with a soldier, but he was chained. I don't think he needed to be chained. I think he could have got to Rome on his own 2 feet, in his own time, probably sooner, if he hadn't gone to Jerusalem. And I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I have a point to make. If there are things that are wrong in your life, it's something to do with you that you need to sort out with Yah. Please hear me. Verse 21, and they said to him, We neither received letters out of Yehuda concerning thee, neither any of the brethren that came showed or spake any harm of thee. But we desire to hear of thee what thou thinkest, for as concerning the sect, we know that everywhere it is spoken against. When they had appointed him a day, there came many to him in his lodging, to whom he was explaining, earnestly witnessing about the kingdom of Yah, persuading them concerning Yahooshua, both out of the Torah of Moshe and out of the spokesmen of Yah, from morning till evening. And some believed the things which were spoken, and some believed not. And when they agreed not among themselves, they departed. After that, Shaul had spoken 1 word. Well spake the set apart spirit by Yeshaiah, Jeremiah, the spokesman of Yah to our fathers, saying, Go to this people and say, Hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see and not perceive. For the heart of this people has become thickened, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes have they closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. Be it known therefore to you that the salvation of Yah is sent to the Hagoyim, that they will hear it. And when he had said these words, the Yehudi departed and had great reasoning among themselves. And Shaul dwelt 2 whole years in his own hired house, and received all that came into him, preaching the kingdom of Yah and teaching those things which concern Adonai Yahushua, the anointed one of Yah, with all confidence, no man forbidding him. So again, we see the favor of Yah, but he's still there in chains for 2 years. And there's no mention whether he got to go before Caesar or not. Presumably he did. I don't know the whole history story. But I'm sorry. It's really on my heart. I don't want you to read the book of Acts and say, oh, goodness gracious, Shaul was such a great emissary. Look what happened to him. All these things that are going wrong in my life, that's just the way it is to be a believer. No, it's not the way it is to be a believer. A believer is to walk in victory. And if there's something wrong in your life, there's something you doing or not doing that you need to sort out. So I want to wrap up by asking you, what is the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator? I'd like to ask you to critically examine where you are relative to Him. Do you talk to Him constantly throughout the day and allow Him to lead you in every possible way? Do you worship him at every opportunity? Have you clearly and unambiguously heard him call you friend? If not, you're failing in your life purpose and you'll be bitterly disappointed when you die. If you have now come to belief, please pray along the following lines. Father Yah, I come to you in the name of Yahooshua. I now believe that you exist. I confess my sin of unbelief and repent of my unbelief, and I ask you to forgive my sin. And I commit my life to you, and I ask you to take me by the hand and lead me into deep relationship with you. I ask you to fill me with your spirit and to change me and help me to become the person you want me to become. I ask you to help me find people who can help me and help me find books, websites, articles, and other resources that will help me. I ask you to show me what I can do to actively serve you and lead others to deep personal relationship with you. I thank you for saving me. There's a period of 8 days from sincerely coming to belief for the first time, during which there is extreme grace to help you. See the article Critical Actions on First Belief for actions you should take immediately. And then drop me an email on james@endtimeissueministries.org so I can help you, pray with you, counsel you, pray for you, etc. Folks, don't hold back. I love hearing from people. It gives me great pleasure. So if you want to write to me, just drop me a line. Please email james@endtimeissueministries.org. It's on the screen. Now I want to step back. I want to make a point. Why are we here? The reason that human beings exist, that you exist, that I exist, is because many years ago, Yah was lonely. And he said, I'm going to create intelligent, reasoning beings who can engage with me in conversation, who can do things with me, invent things with me, who will bring me joy. People who will be my friends. And he created atoms and molecules and the periodic table and then huge chunk of matter and spread that out into the universe and created numerous solar systems, etc., including this one where we are. And he did various experiments and he decided this was the right one. And then he tweaked the Earth, a magnetic core, a nuclear reactor, molten core, electromagnetic field around it to protect us. And then he created all the plants. He started in an evolutionary manner with one-cell organisms, and he progressively created more and more complex plants. And then he created more and more complex animals. And when he was really happy with the animals and the plants and everything, he created human beings. For one reason only, to be friends. So it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, if you're black or white, Indian, Asian, Caucasian, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're from Africa, Asia, India, America, United States, Europe, wherever. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, tall or short, thin or fat. It doesn't matter if you've got blonde hair and blue eyes or black hair and brown eyes or whatever. Father wants you to be his friend. Just put your hands up and say, Father, Yah, James Robertson says you want me to become your friend. I choose to become your friend. Help me to become your friend. There's an ebook on the website. If you hover over home in the top left-hand corner of the website, there's a drop-down list. 7 components of drawing close to Yah. Read it, put it into practice. So in closing, thank you for listening. Please send me your questions to james@endtimeissueministries.org. Please email me to join the mailing list at james@endtimeissueministries.org. If you decide to draw close to the Almighty, please let me know and I can connect with you by Zoom, Teams, email, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, or telephone so that I can help you with your journey. I hope to connect with you again next week when I will continue to explore how to become a friend of the Creator. Work with me to make a way for Yahooshua to return in victory at the end of the millennium and make his enemies his footstool. Folks, that's pretty much it. If you've been walking with me for a while, I'm going to say to you good night. Have a great weekend. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Friday. If you're new to the channel, please stay on. I've got some things that I want to share with you. So for those of you who are leaving, I'll say good night. In closing, who am I? James Robertson. I have a doctorate in engineering, and I'm a retired military commander. I now work as a management consultant. I have over 33 years' experience of actively seeking to draw close to the Almighty following a dramatic encounter with him on the 12th of March 1993 when he spoke to me audibly in a locked room, and I knew for certain that he was real. In learning about Father, I applied my deep-seated aversion to failure born out of an accident in early childhood, coupled to my engineering and military training of rigor in preventing failure, to my seeking of knowledge about Father. This journey led to numerous supernatural experiences, prayers answered, and clear communication with the Creator. It forms the basis of what I teach in these programs. See the video, Why Seek Relationship, for an overview of what I believe. Please visit my website at www.endtimeshuministries.org. For evidence of creation, read the page Don't Believe the Creator Exists. You need to watch this at the top of the website. The ETI version of the Bible with correction of translation errors is on the ETI Bible version page. The recordings of nearly all of the teachings broadcast so far go to www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com. Search on Google for Relationship with Creator Radio. Transcripts are on the Transcripts of Broadcast page. Books with teachings from 1998 until May 2019 are on the Books for Printing page. I publish regular email articles. Email me on james@endtimeshuministries.org to be added to the list to seek counsel or prayer or give me feedback. Visit the website and use the article keyword cloud, table of contents, article search, and Google search to locate the information you're looking for. So, folks, there's a lot of information on the website. I've been walking this road for over 33 years with Yah. I've been writing since about 1997. I've written a number of quite substantial ebooks, all of which are on the website. And I've written about 2,500 articles, all of which are in the articles database on the website. They're also on the web pages, about 1,250 web pages. So if you've got questions, go to the website. If you've got a particular word in mind, go to the article keyword cloud. It's an alphabetic listing of keywords across all the articles. Find the word that you're looking for, click on it. It'll bring up all the articles that contain that keyword. All of the table of contents is a complete listing of all the web pages, and you can scroll down that and look for what you're looking for. You can also search on the website if you, depending which browser you're using, up in the top right-hand corner, 3 vertical dots, 3 horizontal dots. Click on that, you get a drop-down menu, you search in page, find in page, click on that, type the word you're looking for, and you may find things that way. And then the article search, you type in a word or phrase, and then there's also a Google search. Folks, that's it. I'm out of time. Good night. Have a great weekend, a great week, and I'll see you next Friday. Thanks so much. Bye.
Father, I come to you, lifting up my hands. By your grace I stand, just because you love me. I know your favor.
Do you really understand the book of the Acts of the Emissaries, the Acts of the Apostles in the Bible? Please listen to my broadcast on w4cy.com internet radio or talk4tv.com internet TV to learn what it's really saying. My name is Dr. James Robertson. I've been walking closely with the Almighty Creator since 1993. Visit my website at www.endtimeshuministries.org for a lot of information about the matters of the Almighty. For back issues of broadcast, visit www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com or email me on james@endtimeshuministries.org to find out more. Folks, I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Cheerio.